You're listening to the NABS Now podcast, brought to you by the National Association of Blind Students, a proud division of the National Federation of the Blind.
Welcome to the NABS Now podcast. I'm your host, Nina, and I'm so excited to introduce a new co-host today, Elizabeth Rouse. We're going to be talking all about family relationships, going home for the holidays, and that family advocacy, which is sometimes not the easiest to talk about. So let's jump right in.
Hi, my name is Mausam Mehta. I am a third year at the University of Virginia. I'm majoring in commerce with concentrations in IT and management, and I am the secretary of the National Association of Blind Students.
My name is Qualik Ford. I am a student at the Louisiana Center for the Blind. I'm just a recent high school graduate. I have just been reelected as the Maryland Association of Blind Students president, and I also serve as a committee co-chair on the D&I committee for NABS.
Hi, my name is Mendez. I am a student and I'm in training at the Iowa Department for the Blind.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We are excited to tackle the somewhat difficult topic of engaging with our families over the holidays. We know that sometimes those can present some sticky situations, and we are super excited and grateful for everyone's vulnerability and willingness to participate on a not so easy subject with us. So our first question pertains to a little bit of lead up to the holidays, specifically traveling. So when the two of you are traveling home for the holidays, what does that kind of look like for you? How do you get home, and how do you maneuver traveling home for the holidays and some of the barriers that you might encounter on your way? Mops, you want to start us off?
Yeah, sure. So I actually live around an hour away from my home. So generally when I travel back from school, my parents are insistent on coming to pick me up. And I think that I used to take a lot of issue with that because I was like, I am capable of getting home in some way. I could literally take a train or I could take an Uber. But then when I really consider where I live and kind of the fact that I'm in a pretty, I would say like suburban, almost rural part of Virginia, it is very difficult and also expensive to find transportation to get home. So at the end of the day, it's a little less efficient to come home on my own rather than take the kindness of my parents and allow them to come pick me up. So that's definitely something that goes through my mind when I'm traveling home.
Absolutely. I love the fact that to you, Mausam, that's also not let mom and dad do it for me. It's kind of looking at the fact that your family is definitely a blessing for you. That's awesome.
So this year is going to be different than years before. Years before I was 99 times out of 10 already home. If not, if I was in Baltimore and hanging out, because my family lives in Prince George's County, which is southern Maryland. So I would probably take the MARC train, which is just like kind of commuter train, to the local train stop, and my grandmother picked me up because there's like no public transportation that is really accessible in PG County. But this year, I'm actually doing it like for Thanksgiving. Yeah, for Thanksgiving, I'm doing a lot of traveling. Like I'm going to Kentucky to visit some friends, and then I'm going to Maryland for Thanksgiving itself, and I'm going to my dad's house for Thanksgiving. So like there's gonna be a mixture of like flying to Kentucky and flying back to Maryland, and then I'm taking a Greyhound to New York, and then flying out of New York back to Ruston. So,
oh my gosh,
I know it's gonna be a doozy.
That'll be fun though.
Yeah, no, it's always fun. I like traveling. I want to go to like all the 50 states before I graduate. Before I turn 25. Oops.
Wait, I love that. That's so cool.
I want to go to all 50 states too.
Oh my gosh,
I'm at 26, I think, including if you like did like based on the Facebook challenge, like including airports or whatever. Yeah, I'm at 26.
Oh, I got you beat, Fam Bam. I'm somewhere in the 30s.
Oh man, tragic.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm a few years older than you. You've got time to catch up to me.
Oh, don't do that.
I was really nervous the first time I flew home alone, but I knew the airport pretty well that I was going home, or that I was going into and out of. So it wasn't that bad for me. And also I just asked a lot of questions. But I did get lost a few times.
I love that though, because you were highlighting how it's okay to get lost, and it's also okay to ask questions to get more information. So that's perfect.
Okay, wait, follow-up question then. Did you find, Allie, and I feel like this is a relatable experience for any and all of us at one point or another, did you find that asking people in the airport for directions was beneficial, or did you feel like it was kind of a toss-up? I know sometimes it's one person gives you one thing and another person gives you another, and then you just kind of gotta figure it out one wrong turn at a time.
Some people were beneficial. A lot of them weren't. A lot of them are not.
Say that louder again. So our next question deals with when you first actually get home. So when you're home, do you find that you fall back into the same patterns that were established in your family when you were young, or does your family have a new precedent now that you're older, and how do you navigate those changing relationships?
This is a tough one. I think that for me, I grew up in a very traditional family, and it still continues to be that way. I would love to say that since I moved away to college, my parents have suddenly truly understood the meaning of my independence and do treat me like a very competent and capable adult. But if I'm being completely honest, I think that that's a little easier said than done in this particular situation, definitely. I would say that when I come home, I think I do my absolute best to advocate for myself, especially now that I have had a much longer taste of living on my own, and they've also gotten a lot more comfortable with that. But I think it is very easy to fall back into some of those patterns for sure. Um, I definitely find myself having to tell my parents not to serve me at dinner and that I don't need sighted guide everywhere I go. I think, and that's something that it's an ongoing process, I think, and it's different for all of us as we grow up and start to hold our own ground and assert ourselves and our independence. But I think the first step to that too is being aware of those behaviors and trying to start with the small things, right? And trying to explain why you don't need help with that. And I've been doing this for years on my own. Why suddenly do I need help with it again? So it's definitely a work in progress.
Those are always the fun ones, right? It's like, Mom, Dad, I'm at college and I haven't died in the semester that I've been gone, so why would I suddenly die now? But thank you. And it can be a little stressful, right? I mean, explaining to our parents that, no, I don't need that. And sometimes to us, it's a very obvious why, but I mean, we're told every day that we're constantly educating people. So that can be a little rough around the holidays. I think it can definitely add to some tension as well.
Yeah, I think that balancing it as well. So I know for me, I always struggle with is this a blindness thing or is this just like a motherly thing? Because like you were talking about serving food. And so like my mom, like sometimes, if my brothers are impatient, they'll get food or I'll get food. But like a lot of the time, like my mom will serve me, but like she'll also serve like my dad and like my little brother. And so like in that respect, it's like, okay, like that's not a blindness thing. But sometimes I think for me personally, like I immediately jump to, oh, it's got to be a blindness thing, because when you're in the general public, it usually would be, you know what I mean? And so it's a little bit of a different advocacy, I think, sometimes. Allie, what do you think?
So when I go home, my parents are like very comfortable with me as a blind person. So they don't really help me with anything or do anything for me. And sometimes I think I wish they would, because I just want to come home. But my like extended family that I don't see as often, they definitely do still treat me kind of like I'm little.
Yeah, no, I can definitely relate to that as well. It's almost like ironic to a certain extent too, when like cousins who are younger than you, who you helped take care of when they were little, like my cousin Xander specifically is like, I got Beth. And he like will grab my arm and he'll go somewhere, like take me on a trip, and it's like, all right, Xander, I'm all yours, I guess. But
Wait, that's so cute. It's also
thing.
just like hard to advocate to, because I know for me, I'm very loud and like in the general public, but I'm really non-confrontational, especially with a lot of my family. So
What?
I know, right? Isn't it shocking? And so, like, if I'm at a family gathering, like, I don't want to make a big deal and start arguing about, like, okay, no, I can, like, make my own plate. Because, like, sometimes it's just, you gotta pick your battles, and it's really hard to, like, draw that line. And they're different for everyone, too. So I think that's really good, Allie, that, your parents are so open about letting you be independent.
I totally relate to the frustration though of when you like come home for the first time and you're so mentally exhausted. It's like, Mom, do my laundry and make me food. And she's like, you have legs, go do it yourself. It's just the heartbreaking reality.
That's an interesting question for me because I haven't really seen a good part of my family that much when I was a kid. So now I'm really close to my grandmother and my uncle and my aunts. So my holidays are like a different affair entirely. So, I mean, relationships are cool. Basically, we go to my uncle's house. My aunt or my uncle's wife is like the cook. She throws down and like everyone else kind of pitches in and helps out. I'm usually like the one playing with my cousins and stuff because one's like 7, one's like 3 or 4. And so, yeah, right. So I'll hang out with them, be a teenager, and like be on my phone.
Yeah, I love the family dynamic. A family that works together in different ways stays together. Some really off rhyme like I just created. So are there any specific roles that the two of you take on around the holiday season? Like I know in my family, I am the gift wrapper. My parents will literally put my presents in boxes and tape them shut and have me wrap my own Christmas presents because it's just something I love to do. I'm not even kidding. Every single gift under the tree is usually wrapped by
That
my
would
hand.
be too tempting.
Yep. So I'm pretty good at restraint, but are there any roles that you guys play kind of like that, whether it's in the kitchen or as an entertainer or anything along those lines?
So when I go home, I have a lot of little cousins, and so I'll usually watch them while everyone cooks or goes out.
Oh,
Yeah, that's my favorite part of going home is getting to watch all of them.
that's so
cute.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I love it.
Oh man.
Master entertainer.
Yeah.
what about you,
mine
Mausam?
Definitely not as wholesome or nice. I am, I guess, how do you say it? The ornament putter on the tree.
You
hang the ornaments?
Yeah, and you know what?
You hang the ornaments?
I do, and it's such a menial,
Wait, that's so
small
wholesome.
thing. But
No,
my parents.
It's not. It's a
See, my
beautiful
parents.
thing. It makes the tree Christmas.
My parents really vibe with me in the kitchen, which I understand because I did almost. We're not going to talk about that anyway.
Oh God, I'm gonna ask that one after.
Yeah, I don't blame them there, but I have over the years enjoyed putting various glittery ornaments on our tree, and then they get all over my clothes, and it's a lot of fun.
The sparkles match your personality, Moss. I don't know what you're talking about.
Thank you.
I don't know about y'all, but I bake the cookies a lot. I grew up baking with my mom, so I have these really special mint dark chocolate. They're kind of like knockoff Girl Scout cookies, but they're almost better because they're not however much they are a box now.
So here's my address.
I make those. I make my brothers for Christmas every year. I have to make them homemade peanut brittle because it's their favorite.
Aww.
I have a list of things people want me to make. Yeah, so that's mine.
So I'll take the mint cookie recipe when you get a chance, Nina. That'd be great.
Ma'am.
That'd be great.
And I'll send some to you, Mausam.
Aw, thanks.
Qualik, when you interact with your family, have you ever felt that a limitation was imposed upon you because of your blindness?
I don't think so. My mom was blind. One of my aunts is partially blind. My uncle's kind of a big proponent of doing stuff. I remember I was talking to him about never using a chainsaw, and the next thing I know, there's a chainsaw in my hand, and I'm cutting down a tree in my grandma's yard. So my family's pretty aware, and they're very much invested. So when it comes to that, I just kind of be chilling. They know I have skills and stuff. There's definitely moments where they do things for me and all that, and I think some of that's just family ingrained things. I sometimes I just feel you got to let certain things go because it's family, and family will be stuck in their ways. When it counts, I advocate for myself and all that stuff.
That's awesome.
Okay, so do you guys have any specific stories or instances you want to share when you remember being treated differently, specifically at a large family gathering or a holiday party? And how did you deal with that? And has that changed now that you're older? So did you used to deal with it different when you were younger, or is it still kind of the same for y'all?
I have a lot of these. But
that sigh said it all. Oh my. Okay, Mausam. We'll hand you the mic.
Thanks. I hope I don't drop it, even though it might be the move for this one. Over the years, my family has gone to a whole bunch of Indian functions, which traditionally are quite large. There's a whole bunch of people that we all call our uncles, but they're not actually our uncle relatives. And it's a wonderful time. There's a lot of loud music and dancing. But the big thing that I always find myself noticing is that I am that person who is sitting at the table with, I guess, like a whole bunch of family members or, other people at the function, and then everyone will get up and go dance. And I just am always that person who's just like hanging out there. My mom's like, oh, do you want to hang out with the younger kids? And I'm like, no, I don't want to hang out with the younger kids. Like, oh my gosh. I think it's hard because for me, I struggle to find my place in that atmosphere because, as Elizabeth was mentioning earlier, and I think it's really easy for a lot of extended family and other people to kind of belittle you as a blind person and, be like, oh, like,
and not realize it.
Can I help you? Like, and it's all out of good intention. And I think that's something I realized a lot recently. But I think it's just that feeling of you just like you feel like you don't belong. You just feel very awkward, like you stick out like a sore thumb. That's how I usually feel at these functions. And I think what I've tried to do to kind of mitigate the situation as I've gotten a little older is really to seek out some of the older kids or teenagers, young adults, what have you at this point, and really force myself to be out there instead of letting my mom be like, hey, like I'll take you over to sit over here with these people. Like that to me is so awkward. It just makes it more awkward. So I really, really try to do my best to kind of assert myself into those situations and start up conversations.
That's awesome. Mausam, how does your family do with Mandy, with your guide dog?
So this one is particularly new. I got Mandy last year. It took a while. I think they're slowly starting to warm up to her. I think the difference is that we haven't really had a bunch of huge group situations with her, and I'm not really sure how they would interact in that situation. But generally, they're pretty good. They have done their best, I think, to follow kind of the rules and expectations that I've set forth, which, if I'm being honest, I'm very surprised by, but I'm not going to take that for granted.
I'm going to come teach my family.
So, I don't know how long that'll last, but
fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
See, I have a guide dog also, and so my experience is a little bit different. So I do not bring my guide dog to a lot of family events that aren't outside my house. He'd be welcome. It's not really bad. It's just a lot of my family has other dogs and it kind of gets crazy. A lot of my family also lives in smaller houses. And so I do have him though when my parents entertain at my house. And so I actually used to leave him upstairs in my room for part of the function when he was a little younger, and also we were a little bit more new. But it kind of got to the point where, I was sort of putting him away for other people's benefit, not really his. And I kind of just started being like, and it sounds really mean, but I kind of was just like, look, like, if, your kids can't, like, respect him, or, like, if, he lives here too, you know what I mean? So I'm not putting him away for your well-being. It's different, though, if someone's, like, deathly afraid of dogs. Like, I'm not that mean. But there would be instances, like, people, I kid you not, so I have a really big Italian family, so like we're just all over the place, and so people be sitting on the floor with their plates of food on the floor, okay? They would get upset when, my dog would walk over, and I'm like, your plate of food is in the middle of the floor on the floor. Like, I'm not going to yell at my dog for eating your piece of sausage when he knows that food on the floor in this house when he's not in harness is his, you know what I mean? So there's been a lot of, like, those kind of conversations. And, like, I wish I could say, like, I'm always super nice about it. But, like, sometimes the only time I am slightly less non-confrontational is when it comes to my fur baby. So, but overall, my family's definitely warmed up to him a lot. They love him. They almost love him too much. Like, I have to reprimand, like, my grandpa for existence. We'll just be, like, feeding him things off the cheese tray. And I'm like, oh, my God.
Oh my
So
gosh.
sometimes I will be putting him away for that reason, but I won't put him away for, like, I'll put him away if I feel like my dog's getting overstimulated or there's a lot of toddlers who are, like, throwing things at whatever, just not good for him. But I won't just put him away. He would let that happen. He loves babies, but he literally would.
he lets them like crawl on him. Like he'll just lay down flat on the ground and let them like climb on him like a jungle gym. I'm like, but so yeah, it's really just a balance, and sometimes you do have to be like, look, like, you know.
Yeah, no, I get that.
I could preach about that for a while.
In the same regard that I think we all may have some negative experiences, I think it's also really important to acknowledge some of the more positive experiences. So my question is a little bit different than I even expected it to be 30 seconds ago. Do you guys have that one person in your family who like refuses to let you be different? Like I know for me, right, for example, it's one of my uncles. My uncle Adam has, since I was a little kid, shot me with Nerf guns. And if he hits me in the eye, he's like, sorry, bro, get over it. And he'll like throw me down on the carpet next to his 16-year-old 6'4" kid. And it's, I mean, we're a very lovingly aggressive family. So it's not being those sticky situations, right? It's that person who, you know, you can always go to in a room and they're going to be like, quit complaining, go back into it, get into the thick of things. Like, do you guys have that person in your family?
For me, it is my aunt, but she's my age. She's 18 also. And we're really close, and we've been close since we were like born.
I love that. She kind of holds you accountable, right? It's like, Allie,
yeah, definitely.
I would say for me, I think it would be, okay, what's complicated is that I would say family friend, but also in our family, we refer to just about everyone as cousins also. So one of our family friends who lives here in New Jersey, she, I think for me, has always been the person who's really kind of built me up as I've grown up and has always been on my side and has been a wonderful support system for me. And I think she's always just been very dedicated to my goals as a person, but also as a blind person, you know, kind of in parallel. And I think what I'm really grateful for, I guess, with that is that I have really been able to be myself. And I've, you know, I think that her support and kind of her wonderful cheerleading has really helped my parents accept my blindness as well as I've grown older. And so I am super, super grateful for her every day.
That's so sweet. I know it's funny to like a family friend because I'm super, super close with a cousin of mine. She's younger than me and we've always been close kind of growing up. We're more like sisters, but outside of like my immediate family who I live with, my vision teacher is actually, I should say my old vision teacher, is actually like a second mom to me. So I had her since I was in kindergarten all the way through when I graduated high school. And so like she literally became my second mom. She knows everything there is to know about me. And even though she won't be at a lot of like my immediate family gatherings, like where my cousins will be and stuff like that, she has literally been that like one constant in my life in terms of like, I never have to tell her how or why I can do something. Like I can never remember a time ever in my life where she's asked me like, well, how are you going to do that in the sense of like your blindness? Like she might ask me like, are you nuts? Like what? But like, it's never like because of blindness. And so like, that's why, you know, it doesn't always have to be blood, but yeah. But I think that's a really good point that Beth brought up too. Like we talk about advocacy, but also everything is done kind of out of love. And I know like personally, my family is really supportive of everything I want. It's sometimes just a philosophy thing, but at the end of the day, like it's still coming from a really good place for them.
This next question is centered all about the topic of training. And I think training in this sense, Mausam, you've hinted at your training with Mandy, Allie, and you just started your training at the Iowa Department for the Blind this past month. So do you see or foresee any obstacles, I guess would be the word that I choose, when traveling home for the holidays this first Thanksgiving and Christmas season? And what do you think maybe the best way to approach any of those kind of bumps in the road would be with or without a guide dog, just in your family in general, in your unique situation?
So I will just add something here as well. I graduated training this past August. Because of the craziness of our pandemic, I actually had not seen my family, any of them, since the first week of the new year. So I hadn't seen them in about 7-ish months, give or take. And so I was really, really stressed about this. I was really stressed because I was coming home in a lot of respects a different person, but I hadn't seen them in so long that they weren't seeing like the gradual changes. Like it wasn't like I went home at Easter and then like, I took a few days off in June, and like every couple months they were seeing the changes. Like they were going to kind of get hit in the face with it because they hadn't been able to see me, and like they knew kind of what I was doing, but they weren't there. And FaceTime is different, and they weren't out on travel with me, and they weren't cooking with me and whatever. And so something my mom and I did do when I was in training is we actually cooked together over FaceTime, which I know is a very fun thing to do. And so like she kind of got to see that, and I sent her a lot of pictures of all the stuff I'd make. But in terms of travel, I was really nervous. And so I got home and something like really profound happened. It was evident that I didn't use Setted God anymore, like ever. And I always have a cane or my dog. And, we were walking, and my mom was, I think, a little bit confused on like what directions I needed and what I didn't, and like how much input was too much and like how much was not enough. And she kind of looked at me and was like, honestly, like, I don't really know the best way to help you. So can you like tell me how, like, help me help you? Like, I don't really know what to do here. And it was like kind of a profound thing between us for her to like say that kind of like, I don't know sort of thing, because I also didn't really know how to navigate it. And I didn't know how to be like, yeah, I don't want to hold on to you anymore, but it's not because like I don't need you. It's more just like I don't, it's an independence thing. And so that really opened up the way for like us to communicate a little bit more cane travel wise. And I could explain like, okay, yeah, you can tell me, things like, I don't even know, like directions are fine. Like I'm not one of those people who hates directions if we're walking to the same place. But like, yeah, you don't have to tell me there's like every single little obstacle in my way, or every single time something can like get in my way. Like the cane is fine. And then like as we travel more together in stores and outside and stuff, like they see that. And so like it's definitely, I think I expected it to be a lot worse than it actually was. And like it ended up being like an actually really profound experience for me with my family. But
it seems like a great opportunity to open those lines of communication, especially if a family hasn't seen you in a month, 2 months, 7 months, right? I mean, it's a big change for them as much as it is a big change for us.
Mausam, what was it like coming home with your dog? In a brief, I know we could go on and on, but you guys have 2 different types of training here, so I think it'd be really cool to draw on that. So what was it like kind of having to communicate with your family about your dog? And I know this is really tough because I went through it as well.
Yeah, it was a couple of experiences. I was hopeful, but I was also very nervous. Because, it was extremely new for me as well. And, I was thinking to myself, well, if I'm really nervous and if I'm really stressed out about this new experience, they are going to be stressed out tenfold, And so when, in the week leading up to when I was coming home from guide dog training, I just had a pretty straightforward conversation with my parents. I was like, look, here's the situation. Here's what I'm asking of you. Here's what you can do to make me and this new partnership the most successful it can be. I don't think I use those words. That sounds way formal. And my parents would be like, what are you talking about? But, along those lines.
Just pulls out the dictionary.
Right. According to Webster, expectations is no. So I had that conversation, and I was hoping that something would click for them. But, also it's kind of a shot in the dark with that kind of thing too. And I think we can all kind of agree that a lot of times when it comes to messages of what you want and, who you're communicating them to, you never really know the result until you live that result. And so I hoped for the best, and I came home, and it was tough at first because I think they did understand what I expected, and I think they tried their best, but it was just I think there was a lot of tension, not necessarily negative tension, but just like, it's hard to explain. It was almost like a weird sense of anticipation because I was also in a holding pattern. I had come home, but I was about to leave for school in a couple weeks. And because we were so new, we were doing so many of those basic guide dog things. And Nina, you definitely probably know what I'm talking about, tie down all the time, does not leave your side off of leash. Like it was very tense in that, I didn't want, my parents were not to interact with her at all. Like it was very weird. But I think with all that being said, they were extremely patient and understanding of the process as it was happening, because it is a work in progress. It's always a work in progress. There are times now where I have to tell my dad to stop talking to her in harness, even though he knows better. It was eye-opening for all of us because I realized that in that beginning, in those couple moments at the beginning, I really felt like they were hearing me. I like, as Mausam, just as their daughter, they were hearing me and hearing, look, this is not safe for you to do. Like, please don't talk to her. Please don't feed her. I think they truly heard me. And I was so blown away by that experience, because I think growing up, sometimes as blind people, we get frustrated that they're not hearing us.
Absolutely. What about you, Allie? Have you started to put any thought into what it's going to be like to head back to Florida for the holidays?
I think that my mom is going to struggle a little bit with me just like getting around, because sometimes she does get nervous about that. But in Georgia, my dad, he doesn't really understand a lot about blindness, and so I think that's going to be the biggest struggle, just having him not do everything for me and understand that I want to be independent.
Yeah, no, that's totally
Have you thought about how you're going to advocate about that at all? I know, like, it's hard to think about when you're not there, but I know, like, I was really stressed out before I came home. I was like, oh my God, what am I going to say? And like,
I don't know. I don't see my dad very often. And so in the past, I've just, let it happen, because I only see him, like once every 6 months. And so it's like, but I really want, because, it's cringy for me, like having him, he likes to like grab onto me, and then like, he gets scared anytime I move anywhere. And so it's like frustrating, because he knows I can do it, but it's almost like he wants to be like more protective now that I am like using a cane and like actually being blind. So I don't really know how I'm going to handle it. Yeah.
No, I totally get that though. I mean,
well, we will be here to support you.
yeah.
Thank you.
It's going to be a grabbed cane every now and again, and a little bit, oh my God, you're about to step off the curb.
He
And
does do that.
Yep, I'm already off the curb. I found the curb.
Yep.
Oh, we know. No, my favorite is like when you get to the steps, and people do this with a guide dog too, because Mausam will tell you. So like, it actually looks kind of scary sometimes with a guide dog, because I know my guide dog and we go to the very edge of the steps before he stops, and so it looks like we're just about to tumble down the stairs, and we're not. But people be like, "Ma'am, there's steps," and I'm like, like, okay, cool. And then like I'm like, that's cool. And then I'm like, we go forward, and then we just like go trotting down the stairs, and they're just like, oh my God, you're not holding the railing, because like, who needs a railing, right? Like, you're fine. It's so fun, guys. And to do it in a Buffalo winter with ice sometimes, like, they really make it stay.
Well, just know that whatever the end result is, Allie, I mean, one of the greatest things about NABS, right, is we've got each other's backs. We've all been through different stages. So if you need us, I think you could probably call any of us, and we would drop everything and do what we can. So
Thank you.
Always.
I'm pretty sure I'm going to be put to work. Like, I think my family knew I can cook and stuff, like, because I've been cooking and all that for a while, and like home management is definitely one of the classes I do better at here at LCB. But I think like now it's going to be like, oh yeah, get in the kitchen. Like, I think everyone's just really happy I made this decision. I think a few of us went back and forth about it, but it was really more like, you just better go to college. And I was like, okay, I got it. Like, I'm going to go to college. I know what it is. So no one was really opposed to me going to training, and I think everyone's kind of exhilarated about it. And so I think training is just going to like make them more confident in me, because I'm more confident in myself. And so like,
That's an amazing perspective to have.
Yeah.
Well, let us know when dinner is going to be served. We'll make sure
I will be there.
some Qualik Ford cooking. I'm ready.
All right. Well, you're coming, so
it's true. We're gonna have to like take turns cooking.
We'll just invade.
Right. That's right.
I love this.
I unfortunately missed out, but it's okay, Qualik. You'll have time to make it up. It's okay.
It's okay. I missed out on your cooking too, so I guess we're even. Hey, I'll be in New York though, so I mean.
Oh, true.
I love it.
We'll
the camaraderie is real.
Right.
NABS is all about good food. We just don't tell anyone.
We just save it for ourselves.
Can you talk about a time when your family helped foster your independence as opposed to hindering it? You kind of did with the chainsaw, but I didn't know if you had any other stories that came to mind.
All my family like has like big roles and stuff. Like, I think my grandmother and I have a lot of like philosophical conversations about not letting your blindness hold you back. I'm African American, so like I have that going for me. So we just talked about like how I can't let the disadvantages I have because of being a minority in different ways slow me down, and I have to just kind of rise to the occasion. She kind of coaches me on public speaking and stuff, and like me and my aunt will like work on debating and things like that because she loves it. He's the uncle that walks up to you and like punches you in the arm, and he's like he's always ready to wrestle. You're gonna see us like fighting it out in the living room. I mean, he's gonna get the best of me one day. I'll get him one day, but I mean, and so I think he makes me really feel like a normal teenage boy. Like we don't acknowledge it. It's not a thing between the two of us. Like he knows I'm blind. We talk about it and all that stuff, but like it's just, hey, whatever.
Blindness is not the characteristic that defines you.
Right. Like
That's awesome.
Yeah. You're just my nephew. Like, let's go.
That's awesome. I definitely
love
have some of
that.
those relationships in my family too, and they are so, so special. So I can relate.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so glad you guys are willing to talk to us. I think that we got into a lot, and there's so much material here that we literally could talk for hours. But also, I think it's just important for other students to know that they're not alone in the struggles that we talked about today. And it's okay to reach out to others who know what you're going through and to talk about it, but to also understand that at the end of the day, like, everyone is different, and we all can have those different bottom lines, and we all can adjust a little bit differently when it comes to our families. And there's not really a right or a wrong answer.
Absolutely. And remember that regardless of the role you play in your family at the holidays, whether you are the entertainer, the present wrapper, the tree decorator, it's going to be a good season if you're family and you work together to make it a good season.
Thank you so much to our special guests, Mausam Mehta, Mendez, and Qualik Ford. I hope that all of you enjoyed this episode, and I hope that you guys come back and listen with us soon.